Here's a demo of ChatGPT, an AI writing assistant applying the technique that I introduced in the previous lecture, which I call the in other words or IOW technique. My objective is to demonstrate how AI can help ensure that all members of your team share a common understanding of IT requirements for an application. To start with, I need to assess ChatGPT's familiarity with this IOW technique by asking for a description, specifically focusing on its ability to minimize requirements miscommunication. The response provided by ChatGPT is illuminating. It defines the technique pretty much as I described it in the previous lecture. However, I recognize that my approach adds a couple of elements that deviate from the standard definition. You might want to pause the recording briefly to review the standard description and compare with mine. In particular, step 2, titled the restatement, directs each team member or stakeholder, i.e. software engineer, quality analyst, end user representative, to rephrase or restate the requirement in their own words. In my opinion, that ignores my rule, which forbids merely repeating the words. Consequently, I request that ChatGPT incorporate a condition in step 2, stipulating that the rephrased requirement must not include any nouns, verbs, adverbs, or adjectives from the original requirement. That leads me to consider the crucial caveat that makes the IOW technique so potent. The restatement should not alter the core idea expressed in the original requirement. You're restating it, not revising it. This aspect is of paramount importance. So I asked ChatGPT to further modify step 2 with the following rule. The revision should mirror the intent and message of the original, meaning it should not change what the original author was trying to express. Now, impressively, the revised Rule 2 now reads, each team member or stakeholder, software engineer, quality analyst, end user representative, is asked to rephrase or restate that requirement in their own words without using any of the nouns, verbs, adverbs, or adjectives from the original requirement. The restated requirement must mirror the original in its intent and message, meaning it shouldn't change what the original author was trying to express. This promotes deep comprehension and new perspectives while keeping the requirement's essence intact. I find it interesting that ChatGPT also adapted steps 3 and 4 to incorporate these notions of avoiding reuse of original words and maintaining the intent of the original requirement. That not only reinforces my confidence in the revised IOW technique that I've been teaching for many years, it even prompts me to reconsider how I present it to my students in the future. I'm particularly fond of this newly crafted final paragraph. This improved, in other words, method ensures a higher level of requirement comprehension, reduces misinterpretation, and enforces a deep understanding of the original author's intent, ultimately resulting in a more accurate and effective implementation. What a mouthful. I wish I had that on a t-shirt. Feels like ChatGPT is boosting my ego. So let's put this method to the test. I assign ChatGPT the role of a sales and marketing manager and ask it to rephrase the user story. As a member of the sales team, I can use social media to generate leads, providing more opportunities for revenue. After applying the revised IOW technique, ChatGPT generates the rephrased version. As someone working in the sales department, I have the ability to utilize platforms like Facebook and Twitter to create potential customer interest, which subsequently increases possibilities for income generation. ChatGPT defends its rewrite with the following explanation. In this restatement, the original nouns, verbs, adverbs, and adjectives were replaced while preserving the original intent and message of the requirement. Not even I can dispute that. Next, I changed ChatGPT's role from manager of sales and marketing to that of software developer. Surprisingly, its initial attempt at rephrasing is not what I expected. It begins with, as an individual responsible for coding and programming tasks, it's describing the developer role. That's not what I intended. So I redirect ChatGPT by stating the developer should rephrase the statement without changing the role involved, meaning they should not express their own role, but instead maintain the perspective of the original statement. I hope it understands that. And this time the result precisely reflects my desired outcome. The original requirement is now expressed with yet another rephrasing, this time from the perspective of a software developer. Now we're making progress. So to illustrate the entire journey, let's revisit the original user story as well as the two legitimate rewrites after applying my revisions to the IOW technique. The original requirement: as a member of the sales team, I can use social media to generate leads, providing more opportunities for revenue. The manager's rewrite: as someone working in the sales department, I have the ability to utilize platforms like Facebook and Twitter, social media, to create potential customer interest, which subsequently increases possibilities for income generation. Not bad. And the software development's rewrite: as an individual involved in direct marketing, I have the capability to exploit digital networking channels to cultivate prospective client interest, enhancing the potential for financial influx. I like that, financial influx. I need to look for more potential for financial influx myself. When I asked ChatGPT to compare the original requirement with the manager's rewrite, it responds: the manager's revision effectively preserves the fundamental intent of the original requirement. It maintains the perspective of a sales team member and the action of using social media, expressed as platforms like Facebook and Twitter, to generate leads, expressed as create potential customer interest. The desired outcome, more opportunities for revenue, is encapsulated as increases possibilities for income generation. Hence, there does not appear to be any significant misunderstanding evident here. As a business analyst, I disagree somewhat. First, I need to clarify whether everyone, quote, working in the sales department, end quote, is a, quote, member of the sales team, end quote. Next, I see a big difference between social media, stated in the original, with utilized platforms, which could be interpreted as encompassing a lot of other digital networking options like email marketing or digital advertising. Also, translating social media into platforms like Facebook and Twitter could be misleading. Are SM channels like Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, LinkedIn, etc., are they all like Facebook and Twitter? This again needs to be clarified to make sure that developers focus on delivering what the business community wants and don't waste resources on features that are not needed and possibly not funded. In addition, I'm not sure generate leads and create potential customer interest even mean the same thing. My marketing SME tells me that generate leads is more specific and suggests that individuals or businesses have shown some level of interest and are closer to making a purchase, while create potential customer interest is a much broader term about raising awareness and interest in your offerings amongst potential customers. Again, I need to clarify what the author really intended. So let's compare the software developer's rewrite with the original. Software developer's rewrite: as an individual involved in direct marketing, I have the capability to exploit digital networking channels to cultivate prospective client interest, enhancing the potential for financial influx. ChatGPT writes: the developer's restatement is also mostly in line with the original requirement. The role of the sales team member is preserved, though it's expressed as individual involved in direct marketing. The action of using social media to generate leads is reframed as the capability to exploit digital networking channels to cultivate prospective client interest. The result of increasing revenue opportunities is restated as enhancing the potential for financial influx. ChatGPT flags the developer's digital networking channels representing the original social media and rightfully notes this might need to be clarified to ensure everyone understands that the requirement specifically involves social media. Now, that agrees with my statement from up earlier, so I can't argue with that. Now, as the BA, I want to add that the developer represents the role of the sales team member as an individual involved in direct marketing, which means something totally different than the sales team to me. Again, that needs to be clarified. Finally, I'm not sure what to do with the potential for financial influx, but it does sound like something we should all be striving for. In closing, ChatGPT thinks, overall, the in other words technique seems to have helped maintain the original requirement's intent while allowing it to be understood from multiple perspectives. It encourages everyone to think deeply about the requirement's details and function, leading to a richer shared understanding. Fundamentally, I think that even the revisions ChatGPT suggested were very successful in revealing numerous potential misinterpretations of what originally seemed to be a very simple and easily understood requirement statement. Now, I'm constantly amazed at how just replacing words or phrases triggers questions I would never have thought about otherwise. In other words, pun intended, I consider the time spent interacting with the AI assistant to have been well worth it, since it helped me recognize potential ambiguities that could make or break my project. And with that, I include another enlightening example of how current generation AI writing assistants like ChatGPT can assist in effectively communicating business needs to technical audiences. If you try this out on your projects, I'd greatly appreciate your feedback. The only way you can fail is if you never try.